Welcome to the Phillips Gameroom. I'm Andrew Phillips. Today I'm going to be doing an overview of a classic racing arcade game that happens to be one of my favorites. Let's head over here and take a look at it. The game that I'm going to be overviewing today is this game by the Japanese gaming company Kaneko. This is called the Great 1000 Mile Rally. It's a classic racing arcade game. This particular game was actually made in 1995 and released to the world market. It had a USA version, which is what this one is. We're going to turn it on soon. It also had an international version. Now, what's different with this racing game compared to a lot of other racing games is that it has a 360-degree optical wheel. So it's not your typical wheel with the tension like a real car. So this one spins completely around. Now, the cool thing with that is this enables you to do some really cool drifts around corners, and we'll show that once we get into the game. Now, this particular game here is actually modeled after the real racing circuit called the Great 1000 Mile Rally through Italy, or also known as the Mille Miglia. And basically, that was a race that took place between I believe it was 27 and 1957 through Italy. So this game incorporates vehicles from those periods. It's got some cool cars in there. The original race included some really popular manufacturers like Ferrari, Alfa Romeo, Bugatti, Jaguar, Porsche. A lot of those European manufacturers were part of that race. So just to give you a little bit of history about the race itself, there were two fatal car crashes in 1957 that pretty much drew a line to end this Mille Miglia, or the Great 1000 Mile Rally. One of them involving a Ferrari, another one involving a Triumph. And what made them so tragic was the fact that a lot of spectators were also killed, including 5 children. And that pretty much put an end to this race as we know it. Now, this game right here focuses on, the high points of that 30-year stretch from 1927 to 1957, when this race was very popular, going through the countryside and the cities of Italy. And we're going to fire it up soon and take a look at it. But this particular cabinet here is actually a lot different than the original release in 1995 from Kaneko. It was more of a stand-up type cabinet, more of a straight cabinet like you see in like the Karate Champ game by Data East. Here's a photo of how it looked when it was released. This particular one here is different because this was actually put into an old Simpsons arcade game cabinet. And if you're not familiar with that, that was basically a 4-player. It had the bigger deck on it with the 4-player controllers. This was actually purchased out of a sports arena just outside of Philadelphia. I picked it up several years back. Actually, probably more than several years back. But a while back, I picked it up there. It was not in the best of condition. Even though the game did work, the cabinet was pretty rough. So I spent a lot of time refurbishing it and kind of recreating the bezel to go around it. And then as far as like this control deck panel right here, putting some of the logos from the different car manufacturers like Ferrari and Bugatti and all them, getting them on here. Went ahead and also restored all of the metal to its original red color, which is what the original game did have. So it has the red and black pattern. And then I also put the checkered flag pattern on the front to kind of have it more of a racing game cabinet. So I'm going to go ahead and get a close-up of this cabinet. But before I do that, here's some photos of some progress shots from when I got it up until when it finished restoration for you to take a look at. Okay, well, before we fire it up, let me go ahead and get a close-up of it so you can kind of see how it looks now, and then we'll fire it up and get into some of the gameplay and functionality of it. All right, well, let's go ahead now, get a close-up of it so we can get some gameplay action going on, you can see what this game's all about. The game does have 1 or 2 player functionality. 2 player, you're pretty much taking turns and then just competing to see who gets the best time on the race. As you select your cars, you can select from the Ferrari T90, you can select from the Jaguar D, the Porsche 550A, the Alfa Romeo, you have another Alfa Romeo, the Bugatti, you have the Mercedes, which is what it threw me into because you only have 8 seconds to choose, but we'll go through them again. Each vehicle handles differently. The engine sounds differently. It's pretty cool. Ferrari 250 GTO, and you'll hear the difference in the engine sound and performance compared to the Mercedes. The handling also varies depending on the vehicle that you're using. Like this particular Ferrari handles really good. Now, in my opinion, the Bugatti T59 handles the best. I've gotten my best times using that one. you can scroll through and pick different vehicles from the 20s and 30s all the way up into the late 50s. They have pretty much all real cars except for this one here, modeled after the Corvette, and then this is just some made-up car. And if you come across making good timing, you'll do a little animation thing there, like you saw there with the fiery wheels, or sometimes they'll skid out with fireworks. They'll usually play the national anthem. In this case here, I'm just using the Racer X, which is not a real vehicle. But if you were using a real vehicle, they would play the national anthem of that country that the car manufacturer is from. Okay. In my opinion, that Bugatti Type 59 is my favorite vehicle on here. In my opinion, the handling is excellent, the speed's excellent. I've gotten the best timings on some of these races using this car right here. I love that. Shut that off. That pretty much wraps up this review on this game, the Great 1000 Mile Rally. I hope this review was enjoyable and informative for you. It's always cool to review these old classic arcade games because you don't really see them too much anymore, unless, you know, like in a case here, you get someone who's collecting them, or sometimes you might run into an arcade. We have an arcade here in the Baltimore area that has a whole room filled of about 50 or 80 of these. I don't even know how many of these, just vintage games where you can just go and have fun. But this one here is one of my favorites here, mainly because I'm into the old 80s stuff, because that was kind of when I grew up. So I'm into these old arcade games, but I'm also into cars, so you kind of get the best of both with that. So send me any questions, any comments. I've also done some other reviews of some of my other games here in the game room. For example, I have this one here. This is an original Punch-Out arcade game, the original Punch-Out from 1983, made by Nintendo. I did an overview of this game as well, where I showed the gameplay and functionality of that. If you're into this kind of stuff and you want to check that out, you can do so via the link above. I also have some other games in here as well, and some on this side of the room here. I'm going to be doing some overviews of those as well. Also have some repairs that I need to do. I need to rebuild the monitor in this one here. I need to do some work on one of my pinball machines. And then also some of the slot machines I have in here. I've done some overviews of the functionality and the jackpot sequences. Throughout this video here, I had some links across the top that you can check out for that as well. I've done some repairs on some of the Bally machines and Sigma machines. I'll put some thumbnails at the end of this video. Also have some video poker machines that I did some work to. And I have a lot of stuff coming up pretty much for this year and just in general in the future. Some modifications and repairs I'm going to be doing with those. So send me any questions, any comments. I would love to hear from you. As always, I appreciate all the support. Please like this video, subscribe to this channel, and I'll see you next time.